Let me begin. Thanks, everybody, for being here this morning. I have indicated to our new chief that I'm going to be an active participant in CompStat and to take a look at, and this is, of course, only one of many, many ways we measure our effectiveness in community policing in this city. But I've been a fond favorite of looking at data and making sure that we compare ourselves to previous years, look at trends, look at specific categories of crime, whether it be property or homicides, violent crime categories, and other areas. And to make sure that just as Parkside captain was here and Richmond will be next, is that the various local captains of all the stations know that the chief and I and the command staff and the police commission are working together to make sure that we do our best and keep the trends that we see that are very positive trends going. We are now still enjoying, as of today, year to date, a 6% improvement over last year on all categories of violent crime. We are still down in homicides, a low since the 1960s, and continuing a trend that was very strong last year, and it continues to this year. All of this as a result of the men and women of the police department working very closely with the command staff, sharing information, and doing all the things that account for best practices. One of the most important things that the chief and I talked about, and we knew we were going to measure ourselves in the first 100 days, and today is, I think, the 100th day, Chief, is that we would do and define community policing in every possible respect that we could. And as you hear this morning, the collaboration with the other departments, the support the chief has given to other departments do their jobs while the police department does theirs, but also a very focused effort on improving the situation while we work with less resources. And in these first 100 days, the chief has shown his leadership. I'm amazed, too, that he can go out there and with his 30 years of experience ask for officers to really cover the weekends and the nights. That's when most of the crime happens. And to be able to get a response that he has done already, where you do get, quote, volunteers from our police department to say, look, I'm up for this. I want to do better, and we want to get to a better situation. And they also know, too, and the reality that I have is I'm looking at what's occurring all around in the Bay Area. And I know there are worse situations. And we've got to keep focus on our situation here in San Francisco. I'm committed to doing that. And I'm also committed to making sure that we continue a review, a constant detailed review of whether it's stolen bikes or property. That small stuff can lead to worse things if we don't take care of those small things. And I know that broken window theory. That's something that Mayor Gavin Newsom and Willie Brown always taught me when I was the city administrator in Public Works. We get to the small stuff. We allow our communications to get to the heavy things, and people will cooperate with us. I also want to signify my appreciation for the chief just being out there, front-faced, tackling those things, even if there are communities that don't understand what we're doing, and trying to get to a level of conferencing and communication that is comfortable for everyone so that we get good information. And as I said earlier, I'm working with Paul Anderson, our public safety advisor, and his staff to promote as much prevention as we can, because it isn't going to be always the police stopping everything. It will be other programs that prevent and change people's lives. That has to work in concert with our police department and all the things that they do. But it begins with a strong command. It begins with a good presence. The police chief has shown that through a number of things he's done, and making sure that there's great communications while we ask our police officers, like our other public safety officers, to also contribute to the deficit that we have to make sure that our funding gaps are closed. This is all the most difficult years financially that we have, and everybody is stepping up, and I want to signal my appreciation for the men and women in the police department, and they're stepping up, and the whole command staff too, because they're looking beyond their self-interests. And this is, in my opinion, the most selfless organization that we have in our city. So I appreciate, Chief, your leadership in the first 100 days. Congratulate you, and let's keep working together. Everything is humming, and we want to continue that faith that people have and the confidence and the things that we're doing well.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Chief.
I want to thank the mayor again for his support and echo what he was saying about the spirit of cooperation that I'm getting both from the police department, all the other agencies, the community. We can't arrest ourselves or arrest our way out of crime. If you look some of these numbers, like on that slide right there, violent crime arrests are actually down. It's partnership with the other agencies. It's the spirit of collegiality. There's really an atmosphere of cooperation. I mean, when I asked 60% of the violent crime officers to go nights and weekends, that's a big change, but the cooperation was there. When we worked with the mayor's office or the POA to work out a contract renegotiation that would save the department and close a $12 million plus budget gap, the cooperation was there. So again, I mean, everybody gets how serious it is right now with diminishing resources. I said earlier we have about 4% less staffing than we did when the year started, and yet we continue in a trend to have crime low, and that's because we're using the force multiplier of goodwill and partnership both within the city departments and the police department and the community to keep with these downward trends. And again, I keep saying, I can't say it enough, it's all about the young people in San Francisco. If we engage kids, we give them positive choices, there's hope in the neighborhoods. There's no reason why this can't become the new normal in San Francisco, where it's just we're just a safer city. And again, I really appreciate the mayor's support going forward.
So time for about 2 questions. Is anybody?
I'd like to ask both of you gentlemen. Chief, you made a reference earlier about the attrition in the department, and are we not facing a crisis of the loss of officers to retirement and the pipeline just being kind of closed right now?
Well, I don't think it's lost on anybody. The mayor and I talk about it all the time, but at the same time where we've had a 4% decrease in staffing is actually up at the district stations. Park Station has 12 new Hondas. All the stations have Harley-Davidson motorcycles. The 35 officers that weren't working nights and weekends that's akin to an academy class. So a more efficient deployment of the resources that we already have will hopefully get us to the point where we're hiring more academy classes as some of the senior officers retire, and then that'll bring new energy, new ideas, and hopefully greater efficiency and a safer San Francisco going forward.
Yeah, I'd also say too, and again, this is a theme that you hear a lot, the police officers do police work. So when the chief graduated one of the largest cadet classes in recent history, we're talking about civilians doing the civilian work and supporting while the police go out there and do the street work. And so we're doing that as well. We're identifying those activities within the police department that ought not to be done by uniform officers and assigning those to the right people to do. So we're just approaching resources as smartly as we can while we get the funding to do more police academy classes, and we will be doing that this year because we've got a police academy class put in the budget, and we'll have to do more of that. We're going to be working with the Board of Supervisors to get that done.
A couple things, Mayor Lee. You talked about a gang camp.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about that, and also I just got an email from my editor, Chief, who said that there's a big spike in copper thefts at schools in the Sunset. Do you know about that? You're addressing that?
Yeah. About 3 months ago, I did a walk in the Mission District with Supervisor Jane Kim and Supervisor David Campos, and we walked through it because it was after that shooting in the Mission, and we walked along with officers in the district, and Paul was with me as well, and we just walked the streets, and we talked to merchants, we talked to people that are on the streets where some of this stuff is happening, and not only got an eye's view, but an earful about these kids that are hanging out on the corners, and they didn't have anything to do. And people said the city's got to come up with better programs to attract these youth because they're listening to their people on the streets trying to recruit them. And they know that they're just inches away from getting enticed into these gangs. So we said, okay, we're listening to you, and we particularly listened to the Community Response Network people, the people that are in touch with these gangs, that we have a program where they're out there helping the police officers get information about what's going on. They recommended that we do something very unique, that we create an annual camp where for free, about 50 kids, and maybe we'll increase it down the road, will get a whole week's worth of the camp experience at Camp Mather, one of the best camping facilities that we have in the whole city. You know, kids across the whole arena of San Francisco get these weeks where they go to the camp, and they have a wonderful time. Some of the kids in the hood, if you will, don't get that chance. They can't afford it. No one's enticing them. They see other kids and they said, that's not my life. Nobody, I'm going to do what I have to do on the streets to survive. We wanted to entice them in the most positive way. So we created the slots and with the great cooperation of Phil Ginsburg. He went out there to work with us, with YGC, the Youth Guidance Center, Juvenile Probation, our friends at the Family and Children's Youth Center. They got the funding together, got it all done, and it begins at the end of the month for 1 week. And we are recruiting literally those individuals. We can't get to the hardcore gangs, but we can get to the ones that are about to make some decision. They're a little bit of the truant level. They're on the edge with their grades. So we're getting feedback from everybody. And that's why I wanted the captains, because they'll be on the streets as well. They can give us name referrals of kids that we can talk to. That week will be Leadership Development Week up at Camp Mather. Expose them to fun. They may see other people that might even be recruited by gangs that they don't like, or groups of people they don't like. To be able to experience on a first name basis, hey, I saw you up at the camp. You're a cool person. I didn't get to know you before. And by the way, we did rope climbing, or we did something together that's a little more positive. Experience what normal kids get to do every day, except that they don't have it because of either economics or cultural differences walls, or because they walled themselves off because they're being recruited by other efforts. That's the whole nature of that. We're experimenting with it for the first time. We think we're going to receive a lot of success, and the officers will be up there with us to kind of get us that experience. So that's the nature of that. On the copper theft, Chief.
Very quickly, too, I want to, as the mayor said, we're claiming the kids. It's not a gang camp. We're claiming the kids before they make a bad choice and go to the gang. So we're claiming them first to give them positive choices. I'm sorry?
An anti-gang camp.
Yeah, how about a no more gang? That'd be nice. So with regard to the metal theft, it's epidemic. Nationally, this is something I dealt with a lot when I was at the PUC, as they're impacted significantly by this. It's dangerous, too. A lot of these folks that don't understand as they go for the copper, some of that copper is charged copper with kilowatt and kilovolt generators, and it's a safety thing. It's a miracle that nobody has been hurt or killed. So to that end, I met just last week with the members from the PUC. I've spoken to Acting Director Nuru as DPW gets affected by this, and corporate security from PG&E as they have their charged vaults, and we will be assembling a task force within the next 30 days to attack this going forward. People are picking up manhole covers and leaving the hole. Again, it's a big problem. I know that it was spoken to about affecting a school during the summer months when the schools aren't as well trafficked. I know when the East Bay Terminal came down, that was scavenged. So we'll be going at this, and we'll be trying to work with the District Attorney's Office to gain successful prosecution.
Okay, thank you for the questions.